All right, we're live, Carlos. Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to Follow-Up Friday.
Welcome.
It's been since June 17th since we had our last Follow-Up Friday.
June.
Long time, June 17th.
Summer break.
Yeah, summer break.
Fall.
Lots of traveling, lots of basketball, lots of gymnastics, lots of changes. It's been a lot of happening in the last couple months. So
yeah, lots of changes.
Yeah, man. I'm excited with all the changes. I'm excited about some of your changes as well. What's new in your world? Because since we last met, there's definitely been some very positive and significant changes as well in the world of CC Hustle.
Yeah, it is. There's been a lot of changes. It's been a couple months. I inquired Remax Beyond, the franchise. I took on the challenge of, what's another challenge in my life? You know what I mean?
Right.
I took on the challenge of owning a brokerage, and that's pretty exciting. It's a lot of work, a lot of fun, but it's been great. Real estate's doing good. We're trying to improve and always move forward.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was very excited to hear that. I felt like having had the opportunity to work with you there and meet you there and see what you've been doing and how you've been growing your sphere. I was excited to see you add that to your cadre, if you will, because it's perfect, And so congratulations, really excited.
And I really wasn't, it's not like I was trying to, I'm like, okay, that's my goal is to, purchase a brokerage. Mm-hmm. But when the opportunity came, and, I thought about it, we thought real hard, my wife and I, and, we're like, we could go and do we could go do a mom pop brokerage, and then, but I also analyzed and reviewed all my business that I've gotten, and I got a lot of it because of Remax. Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Wow. Yep. And we reviewed the amount of business that came from Remax and the amount of business that came from just me, my connections or who I know. And a lot of it, people Googling, people Googling Remax, or people stopping in, we've got it from all directions, social media, online, leads. We've really noticed that a lot of business came from the balloon.
Wow.
And so
the balloon.
So, we just decided, hey, we made a big commitment. It's a huge commitment for us. Owning a Remax franchise is a huge commitment. There's a lot of expectations, a lot of requirements, but I'm willing to take the challenge. I want it. I want it. And I decided to, I went 100% in and I figured it'd be good for me.
Yeah, no, that's exciting, man. I know that it will continue to be successful. Obviously it's been very successful with Bianca and, and her crew and team. And you've been very instrumental with, being a part of the, the leadership and the growth of that as well. And so I know it's going to continue to be successful. So I'm excited for you. And I love the fact that it ended up with you, it's a great office, great leadership, great culture. And I'm glad that you ended up stepping up and taking the opportunity on, because I know you're going to continue to do great things. And that's awesome, man. That's great. It's new frontiers. Life is all about new frontiers.
Yeah.
All about new frontiers. And, we've talked endlessly about how, you have continued to just walk into the opportunities, and if we don't take advantage of them, then all we can do is look back and wonder. But you've walked into the opportunities and haven't turned anything down. And I met you were a lender. I met you were a lender. And so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to see that you're now the managing broker. Remax
Yep.
Beyond. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, Carlos, you've done a lot of your emphasis and focus has been a lot on the commercial side since you've gotten to real estate. Obviously, you did residential as well, but you kind of targeted and focused commercial. And and I thought it'd be good to talk a little bit about some of the commercial aspects and opportunities that not only are out there, but what you have learned about, and make sure that folks know that Remax Beyond is a commercial hub, and it is definitely a place to go to get some commercial stuff. I mean,
I absolutely love commercial.
yeah,
I came into this wanting, I came into this like I want to focus on commercial because I do business. I love businesses. I love growing businesses. I love helping businesses. I love it, and that's part of why I did what I did. It's like, hey, I'll do this, but I want to do commercial because I love that business part of it. Investing. I love helping a business out, or even if it's an investor, even if it's fixing and flipping, even if it's investing in multifamily, it doesn't matter. It's business. I love business.
Yeah. So Carlos, what was one of the first deals you got under contract to do, and so tell us about one of the first deals you got, and then tell us about some of the challenges that could be associated with commercial as well that you learned along the way too.
So, commercial, one of my first deals. So I do a lot of tenant reps. It's easy to it's easy to get, and it's easy to help, and it's easy to move somebody forward that is ready to go. Somebody wants to lease a building. It's you get in there, you find a building. You make sure you get all their financials, all that fun stuff. But that was one of my first ones, was a tenant rep, and it was fairly hard to do at first, but I got the hang of it, and I've learned, and I'm always learning. Every week I'm learning something new, and but the tenant reps is a good way to get started. Now, getting into commercial real estate, when you get into buying the big buildings and the big, purchases, tenant reps is something that, you can do, and it's good bread and butter, and it helps businesses move forward. But the big stuff is doing the strip centers. And for me, it's strip centers. For me, it's multifamily. And the tough part is financing. Tough part for commercial real estate. That's what I run into is the commercial funding, and then to have all your ducks in a row. To have all your financials correct, to have your all your T's crossed and I's dotted. It's difficult, and it's hard. Some people aren't prepared for that. Some people are, especially when you're getting into business, or starting out. You got to have all those ducks in a row. And then you got to be able to get the people lined up correctly, but funding is what I run into. It's the difficult part. Getting the approvals, getting financing, and different options, different people. That's the difficult part for me. That's the difficult part for some of my clients, and some clients have it. I have a client that has all kinds of money, has all kinds of businesses, he has all kinds of money. He went to go get some financing for a strip center, and they wouldn't finance him because their bank doesn't. The bank he is at doesn't allow. They only allow so much commercial lending per year, or in their portfolio. They only allow so much commercial lending. So finding commercial real estate, commercial mortgage, finding commercial money, to get the funding for those buildings, that's the challenge.
Yeah, that's the challenge for sure. So let me unpack a couple of those things that you just mentioned, because you said a lot in that share. First, tenant representation. Break that down a little more. What is that, and how can realtors benefit from understanding tenant representation? Break that down. What is that? What's that mean when you talk about tenant representation? What does that mean? And then what is the opportunity from a financial perspective?
Tenant reps is basically you're representing the tenant. You're just like you're representing um, a buyer, but you're representing a tenant. So it's the same situation as you're representing in residential as a buyer. But you're trying to help them get everything they need to get that business going and rolling, and everything from start to finish. You're walking in, and if it's helping them, do the construction, or the build out, but um, you're negotiating everything in the initial offer, you know and you're helping them get it all structured up. What are you going to need to get this business open? I have a client that we do multiple locations, and I always ask the same questions. We're always going over the same thing. Hey, what's it going to take to open this building? How much is it going to cost you? How much is it going to, um, you know, how much work do you need to do? How much, what do you need? Plumbing? Do you need, so we try to find everything that they need to get into the building from start to finish. And then, it's the negotiation, the leases. We're always trying to negotiate a good lease. I'm always trying to get the best deal to help to set them up for success. You can see it online. Hey, it's, $29 a square foot, and it's, 3,000 square feet, and that's expensive for some businesses that are just getting started, you know, and it's expensive for businesses that have 31 locations, and they're going into this location because you don't know what your business is going to be like. Is it going to be visible? Is people going to see it? Are they going to stop in? Is it going to be, a demand in that area? So we also have to look at, the traffic area around the area. You have to look at the financial part of it. What kind of income do households have in that? How many households are there in that area? So there's a lot to review, to figure out, just for one little tenant rep, just to figure out a lease.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by tenant rep is I'm representing them to purchase, to get a lease for a building, and I do everything from start to finish to help them.
Nice. And when you do that and you get them into that negotiated lease, what type of financial opportunities are there that exist?
You mean for who? For them or for us?
For the agents.
For the agents.
Yeah.
No, it's the same. People don't get it. It's like, they're thinking a lease. I don't want, they pay rent every month. Well, when it comes to financials for agents, it's the same thing. If you have a lease that is $3,000 a month and it's $36,000 a year, you take $3,000 a month and you times it by 12 years or 12 months. It's 36,000, and then you times it by however many months, however many years they're going to be going on their lease. So if they have a 5-year lease, or if they have a 3-year lease, you get paid X amount of dollars. So if it's 36,000 a year and it's times it by 5 years, it's $180,000. Well, typically you negotiate your commissions on that as well. Typically I do, if I always shoot for the industry average, it's just 3%. So I take 3% of $180,000, and it's the same as any house, any residential, or any, buy or sell of residential.
So there's a lucrative opportunity because it's over the course of the lease.
Yep.
And the lease
Over
could
the
be
whole
3, 5,
course
it could
of the
also be
lease,
10. It could
and
even
it's
be 10
upfront.
years. Yeah, and it's upfront, right? And
Yep.
it could be 10 years that you get paid off of that lease. So that's great. And then commercial. So in commercial is real estate. It's tenant representation from leasing perspective. Sometimes it might even involve maybe finding a business for a client, right? So there's a plethora of opportunities that out there and exist. How have you decided, or when you decided to get into commercial, how did you decide to target or find potential customers or clients for commercial real estate?
So I'm always looking, I'm always trying to network, business to business network.
Mm.
I can walk into any business that is striving. If I go into a business that's excelling, I always, try to approach the manager or the owner and say, hey, if you guys are ever looking to expand, let me know. Because I'm always trying to network. I'm always trying to find businesses. I love business to business network because I love businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always networking. I'm always trying to find other businesses that are excelling, that are moving forward, that can maybe potentially grow, So, and referrals, referrals is another big thing. I have other businesses that I helped. And, just this last 2 months, we've had 3 people that want to start a business. We have a car lot, we have a cafe, a coffee shop, and we have a event center, all from one referral from another client, from another business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm always trying to meet business owners. I'm always trying to get connections and get in with other businesses.
Yeah, well, that's key, and then also making sure that people know what you do and what you focus on, and that's often like the thing that's often left out of many conversations. And many times someone may know someone that's looking to start a business or looking for office space or looking to move or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, making sure people know as well what we do and what we focus on. I focus on the multifamily aspect of the commercial side of business, obviously, right? And so that's what I want people to associate me with. Obviously, I'm a lender, but on the other side of the equation, right, because we have to have multiple streams of income, I do commercial real estate and I focus on multifamily. So people now are beginning to associate with me, right? Because that's what I talk about. I'm consistent in that. And the same thing with you. Like you've been consistently talking about how you work with businesses, how you're business focused, you're networking. And so it probably wasn't very difficult at all for you to start generating.
No, it wasn't. And it hasn't been when it comes to commercial real estate. And a lot of who I work with is from referrals. I mean, that's a lot of what I get right now is referrals,
Mm-hmm.
Or I work with somebody, there's people that Google has been my friend,
Mm-hmm.
somebody Googled commercial real estate agent
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to start a business,
Right.
And they want to start a smoke shop. They're the ones that called me off Google, and it was just they're looking for a commercial real estate agent.
Nice.
And I'm sorry to say, but it wasn't just they're looking for a commercial real estate agent, but they were looking for a commercial real estate agent from Remax.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You
got that name recognition for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
And so it was, and there's some benefit, there's a ton of benefits, with me and the brand, Remax does a lot of commercial real estate,
Mm-hmm.
they have it's called Remax Commercial, and they do a lot of it. A lot of people around here in Kansas City, they see, the other ones. But they do see Block all over the place, and they're famous, but I got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's right.
I love that challenge, and I love that work.
Yeah.
I tell my people all the time, I'm just straightforward with them. It's like, you see those block signs all over. You see these, these other signs. I even see Reese signs all over.
Mm-hmm.
but I want, the Remax commercial,
Yeah.
and I want it to be, a dominant name, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, there's
Yeah.
plenty of business out there. There's plenty of land out there.
Yeah.
There's plenty of multifamily. There's plenty of retail locations, and retail is not necessarily dying,
Yeah.
So people don't realize is that there's still businesses out there. Now, people are working from home. Office space is tough,
Yeah. Yeah.
but when it comes to people, wanting their business, there's still restaurants. There's still, event planners. People want to have parties. There's still businesses out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, we got a question from Robert E. Lewis, about commercial real estate professionals having strong math, accounting. What's your thought on that, Carlos?
so so you got to have that business mind, and you got to have, they do, like, so I was never, I'll be honest with people, I was never really good in school, out of high school, and I tried to go to college, and I was never really good in school, but you do need a lot of math, you do need a lot of accounting, you do need to deal with spreadsheets, you do need to deal with profit losses, bank statements, balance sheets. But you do have to have that strong accounting skill. It would be beneficial.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't learn.
Right. And there's tools, right? Like what I pulled up on the screen. There's tools, right? That and everything is learnable, right? So I mean, yeah, there's just different types of numbers that you look at on the commercial side than maybe what you might look at on the residential side, right? But it's learnable, Robert. It's all learnable. Like, I mean, there's this is I've got pulled up on there kind of a pro forma, a T12. Like there's a bunch of different type of things that we look at in the commercial world, but it's all learnable, all accessible, and there's tools that are available. So yeah, definitely a lot of numbers because investors, commercial people, are numbers oriented, right? More so than the residential population, who might fight you over $2,000 on the price of a house, right? Whereas an investor is gonna look at, there's certain metrics and certain numbers, and we'll dig into these more in other episodes, but investors are going to look at a couple of things at the numbers, and they're going to make their decisions based on the numbers. Wouldn't you agree, Carlos?
Right. Yep. If it makes sense, they'll do business. If it makes business sense and it makes money, and they do it. It's that's the cool part. There's emotions in it, but there's not. Residential is more of an emotional. Hey, I love this color. I like this. I don't know if I like this square footage. No, is it going to make me money? How much money am I making? How much money am I paying out? And if it makes sense, then let's do it.
And that's important. That's why it's very important, Carlos, for people to understand that not every realtor is a realtor that can deal with commercial stuff, because some realtors don't really know, some do not really know anything about the commercial space. And so while you may love that realtor, you have to understand that they may not know anything about commercial space, about tenant representation, about leasing and how to negotiate the lease, about finding a good multifamily property, about finding good lending solutions. Like they may not know. And so you have to, it's just like an accountant or an attorney, you got to find the professional that knows. So just because a person's a realtor doesn't mean they know how to deal with commercial stuff.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about, if you have the thrive and the want, and then I want this, I want to do this, you can learn it as well. There's always a learning curve. The reason why I make it, the reason why I think I make it so easy, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like, that's just way too much for me, but I don't think it's that hard, and I'm always learning, you know what I mean? But it's probably because I've been dealing with it all my life. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I've been dealing with business since I was 18 years old. And let me tell you, I've learned a lot since
Yeah.
I was 18. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And when I first started a business when I was 18, it was like, I learned a lot. You know, it was a
Yeah.
lot of work, and I half-assed it. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
did a bit. I worked the business. You know what I mean? I was a kid. I was young and dumb. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
And I've learned a ton since then.
Yeah. That's
And
right. Hey, Carlos, on Robert's question about recommending a source for lending. So there's a lot of sources for lending depending on what you're looking to do, right? So depending on whether, as you ran into, Carlos, if it's mobile home parks or industrial parks or retail strip centers, like each bank deals differently with each of those, and some won't do them, right? Like when I was looking to buy the mobile home park, a lot of banks wouldn't fund that. Like that just wasn't their sweet spot, right? So I had to go find the bank that will do that. Just like you ran into, where that bank only had so much money they were going to allocate towards commercial stuff. So, the source for commercial lending, it depends on what you're trying to do, and it depends on whether or not they focus on it. Wouldn't you agree, Carlos?
oh yeah, and that's the biggest thing. People don't get it. It's like you have to build that relationship up. I'm always trying to meet new bankers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm always trying to learn what they do because not everybody does it.
Yeah.
Not everybody does the same thing. So you got to have this bank that does this. You got to have this bank that does this. And not everyone does the same thing.
That's right.
So
that's the great thing, Carlos, about commercial.
Yeah.
Is because you are going to naturally expand your network of people, because not everyone does the same thing. Not every agent focuses on multifamily. Some just focus on tenant reps. Some just focus on retail. Some focus on strip. Same thing with lenders. You're right. That's going to exponentially expand your network when you start dealing with the commercial side of business, because no one focuses on everything. Right. Mm-hmm. Most of them are zeroed in and focused on a particular niche.
Right. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter who you're with or what you're doing. You can't go to U.S. Bank, nationwide bank. You can't go to U.S. Bank and get all your commercial needs done.
Right.
You can't get all your commercial lending done. You can't get all your lending. You can't go to Bank of America and get your commercial, all the same. They probably won't they won't lend on land.
That's right.
They won't lend on farmland.
Yeah.
They might lend on a plot, for your house, but they're not going to lend on farmland,
right?
Or agricultural land, or there's different zonings too, and some lenders don't lend on that.
That's right. And I had a bank that, like I said, they wouldn't do a mobile home park. Another one was like, boom, we'll do that. Like that's our niche. We'll do that. Right. I have a couple of banks that I use for my multifamily purchase when I'm purchasing apartments. And then there's others that won't touch it. Right. So you're absolutely right. There's some bridge loans. There's a number of different loan options and programs that are out there. And like I said, we can jump into that in more detail in other episodes of Follow Up Friday, because this is a huge, wide world that most people don't know much about on the commercial side. And it's also a great path to wealth building, right? Which is why I thought it'd be good to start talking about this, especially since now you're the managing broker, RE/MAX Beyond, always been focused on commercial. And that is going to continue, I'm sure, to be a niche of yours, right?
Yeah. Yes. It's my love. It's my passion. It's my love. I love it. I absolutely love commercial. I will always be out. I will always go talk to business owners. I will always go find businesses. I will always be out about doing business with other business owners and helping them grow. It doesn't matter what, I own this place. I'll help build these agents. I'll help build, the commercial, residential. I have different divisions that I'm starting up here. And, we're going to do, the RE/MAX collections. We're doing a lot of different divisions. And there's people that are coming to me. I have new agents that are coming in here. One gal came in and she's like, I don't want to do anything but commercial real estate. Goes,
nice.
Yeah. She goes, I don't like, it's too much emotions for the residential. I'm not a residential agent.
Yeah.
I'm
like, and the reason why I like commercial is what you just said there. It's not an emotional based thing. It's a numbers based thing. It's very simple, right? The deal's looked at based on the numbers. Obviously, we still look at the property, but we don't look at to say, oh God, I want to live there. And that is probably one of the things that separates me as an investor than a lot of people is I look at a property, and if the property is renting, if it's bringing in good numbers, I don't really care how beautiful it looks, right? Whereas some realtors will go look at a property for a client and go, oh, I wouldn't live there.
Look at that paint, look at that, look at those paints, look at that, look at that frame, there's a lot of work that needs to be done and it's totally outdated. There were some houses that I saw I understand, people got to stay up to date, but when you got the oak, cabinets in there that are very nice. I mean, if they're in bad condition, I understand.
Yeah.
The oak, there's nothing wrong with it. It's good.
Nope. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It does, paint them later. It does. If they're not in bad shape, and still, it's a cabinet. Replace a cabinet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to show you something. One of the first deals I did in commercial properties that I ended up buying, and I can't tell you how many people have looked at this property and said, there's no way I would never buy that property. It was a duplex, right? This was one of the first properties I ended up buying. It was a duplex. And this property, it looks a little bit better now, but this property, was costing about $300 a month. The rents were over $1,200 a month, right? So I was almost taking home $900 a month, right? Free and clear. And this property, I'm telling you, was not beautiful. It's not a beautiful looking property, and it had, some defects, obviously. But I was able to pay cash at the time for this property. But what it did is it brought me cash flow, and then it also got me to deal with the seller who had another property who was willing to own or finance that property, right? So when it did come time that I needed to get a loan for another property, I had a cash flowing property. I had another cash flowing property that was owner financed. So I had instant equity that I was able to use some of that equity to get a bigger loan for a bigger commercial property. But it started with me understanding that it doesn't have to be a beautiful property, right? That's the thing about commercial. It doesn't have to be a beautiful property. It has to be a property that is cash flowing. I wasn't emotional about it. I didn't care how beautiful it looked. I just looked at the numbers and looked at, can I make money on this? And if I increase the rents, can I make more money on this? If the answers was yes, yes, and yes, I didn't really care how beautiful the property looked.
Right. As long as it makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what, and people don't get it. I would love to do more just basic investment, because people don't get the cash flow thing. If you buy this house and you cash flow, you got to have, a lot of people don't know what the cash flow is.
Right.
A lot of people don't understand what that means. They
don't,
but they don't.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what lenders on the commercial side look at. They look at, is the property cash flowing? What type of cash flow? Will the property cover the debt? Right? That's kind of what the lenders are looking for when they're evaluating the property. That's how investors are looking when they're evaluating the property. Why would I look any differently? Why would I look at how beautiful the property is? Is the property cash flowing? Right? If it's cash flowing, great. And there's a number of mistakes I think people can make when they go in and buy an investment property. I've had clients, Carlos, and I'm sure you've had, that have bought an investment property and gone in and threw a whole bunch of money into it right away. I think that's a mistake. You know what I mean? I think that's a mistake. If the property is doing good enough right now for the current seller, why do I need to go in and put a whole bunch of money into this property? Because when I look at the numbers and I figure out how much money I'm making monthly, and then I do the math on how much, if I go through all this money into it, how long it would take me to make that money back from the renters and the cash flow, it doesn't make sense to go in and throw a whole bunch of money in unless I have alternative plans to maybe flip the property right away.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is like, if it like I have a client right now that I have a client that is renting right now, but they're renting a house. Now, this house needs fixing up. So, the roof leaks and, the AC doesn't work, and I don't know about the heater, but they have some issues. So I'm sitting here trying to figure out, okay, do I find an investor, and the investor, all the investor has to do, and they're willing to stay. So, I mean, I can go either way. They're willing to stay and rent, but they can't. The landlord won't. He wants to sell the house. So if I can find an investor that will buy that house, and they all have to do is go in there and fix the roof, and they fix the AC unit and they get the heat and they get the major components going, they're happy. Everything else is good.
Yep. Yep. So let's take 1 second and let's dive into that part right there. So one of the great things about commercial, different lending requirements, different frontier than what residential may look at. In the residential world, if the landlord wanted to sell that house to the renter, the renter would have to come up with all the money themselves. In the commercial world, many lenders will allow the seller to gift down payment to the buyer. And that is one of the most different and unique and creative lending opportunities in commercial that does not exist in the residential world, right? So theoretically, if that tenant's credit was good enough, and they were able to get some financing from some of these commercial or hard money lenders, the seller could gift a significant percentage of their equity back to the buyer, leaving the buyer only coming to the table with 10%, maybe 15%, which, think about that. Like, that's not doable in commercial unless you have an opportunity that the seller would give it to you. So that's one. Like, I've done a deal like that. I've sold a property and I've gotten the equity and given some of that back as a gift to the buyer. So the buyer only needs to come to the table instead of 25, 30%, which you have to do a lot of times in commercial, with 10%, right? Or 15%, or in some cases even less. So that's one unique thing about commercial lending that exists. Many banks, many hard money lenders will let you gift, as a seller, give some of the equity. So that perfect example, if that person's credit was good enough, we probably could find them a lender that would help them buy that house.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what we need to do. And that's what, I just started with them. They just called Remax in Olathe.
Yeah.
They just called here and they asked, how they can find a house, if they can help with either a lease or, they're just getting kicked out of their house, so they need to do something.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. That's I'm just saying, like, but that's a great opportunity. Like, I have a deal that I did recently. I did that. Like, I had another deal. I did that. Like, as the seller, I was able to gift that stuff. I bought a house or bought an apartment complex from a person, and we did the same thing. They gave me, right? That's how I learned about it. They gifted me some towards a down payment. I've used properties to collateralize it, right? But there's so many creative ways to do things in the commercial space that don't exist in the residential space. That just, I mean, to me, it just opens up the door in the world of opportunity. You know what I mean? It opens it up, and I know you've seen that as well on your side since you've been doing commercial.
Oh, it's a ton. It's a lot of opportunities to make money, and it's a lot of opportunities to build a business. And real estate, I'm telling you guys, it's well worth investing in real estate to make money.
Yeah.
To be able to profit and to be able to get a return on your investment. People are sitting here trying to figure out, hey, I got to pay this, but or should I invest in this? Should I take my money, invest in real estate, and take that money and put it into a property and get that cash flow.
Yeah. Well, especially now, you talk about inflation eating up a significant percentage of that money, right? So, you put $10,000 in the bank, and have that money sitting in the bank, and you start, going to start use that money, it doesn't buy as much. It's not buying as much with the prices of things going up, and so understanding that, the cash flow will continue to be the cash flow, and up or down, inflation or not, the cash flow will still be coming in. So that asset that you've invested that money in is still going to be there, right? 10,000 is 10,000. It's going to be there. You're just going to be building on it with equity.
Right, and that's what a lot of folks don't get, is that it's just you put your money towards real estate. You still have your money there.
Yeah,
yeah. You're putting in an investment on the stock market.
Right.
The money's still sitting there. Well, you could lose your money.
Right.
This one is still sitting there.
Right.
Right. You could lose your money in stock market, where this is a property. As long as that building, as long as they're not a tornado or what is down in Florida, the hurricane.
A hurricane.
As long as the hurricane doesn't come and float your house away.
Right.
It's still there.
Right. Right. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, that's the key. That's the key, is understanding that it's going to be there. And like you said, unless there's a catastrophe or whatever, it's going to be there. But the opportunities exist. They exist in the commercial world. And, I wanted to kind of just kick it off, our return back from Follow-Up Friday, talking a little bit about it, and let's dig in some more, right? There's so many multifamily, there's some strip malls. Like, let's start digging into a little more and really start to build on this space, which I don't think many people know about it. I'm grateful Robert, joined us and asked some good questions, about recommendations for lending, and, what kind of numbers do you need to know? The numbers are different, but they're all learnable, right? Many different lenders are different. Everyone's different in the commercial space, and that includes the commission, right? There's a recommended, suggested commission, in the commercial space. I don't know, man. It just depends on what you can get.
It is. It's totally, I mean, I've, in all the years I've been doing real estate, there's only one seller, one person, one owner of a commercial property that didn't get the commission thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's only one. And but it's, you can negotiate your money, you can get whatever, you can negotiate that,
Yeah.
But it's so fun, and it's great investment. I would love to start teaching people how to start getting into more of the investing in real estate, that's the fun part, and instead of I ran into an insurance agent, and they're like, man, I started investing in real estate, and I'm like,
right.
And he's super excited about it because, his money, there's a lot more money return on your investment in real estate than there is investing it in, and into the other stock markets.
And I'll tell you right now, people may not be buying as many residential houses. Commercial people, investors are still buying. They're not afraid of the interest rates. Why? Because they understand that the invested money brings yield, which is interest, which will be more than what you're paying on interest. They're not afraid. They're not scared. They are not stopping. They understand this is the time to be buying, not to be running scared.
If you are a renter right now and you're thinking about buying a house, buy a house.
Yes.
Buy a house.
Yes.
You don't have to live in it. You can have renters there, but buy a property.
Right.
Buy a house right now. Because
someone asked me, well, why would you want to buy that right now with the interest rates high? One, I'm not paying the interest. Who is? The renters. The renters are. So I don't care what the interest rates are. My renters are paying the interest, not me. And they're paying a little bit left over, so I got enough cash flow myself as to what I want too. Plus, rents are going up. If interest rates go up, the cost go up, so do rents. So why would you not buy and be still building equity on your dollars and building equity on your asset, as opposed to renting and just throwing it all away. It's even more important right now to probably have access to some real estate.
Yeah, I have a lender that has reached out to me because she's wanting to invest in real estate, and she's just like, we just need to do it. We need to do it. We need to do it, So it's just time right now, folks. If you're wanting to buy a house, buy a house.
Yeah.
Even if you don't live in it and you got a renter living in it, buy a house.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Buy a duplex, buy a multifamily. Now, I have a client that wants to buy a duplex because they want to live in one side and they want to rent the other.
You want to house hack that baby, right? House hack.
Right. But they're struggling with the financing. So it's a struggle, but there's ways around it. We're finding ways.
And again, that's a perfect example. That's a multifamily property. It's a residential property, but you still could go to a hard money or creative lender or creative bank that would allow them to maybe get the seller to help them back a little bit. So there's many ways to do it, whether it be seller financing, whether it be creative bridge loans, whether it be seller giving some of the down payment as a gift. If you raise the price up enough to still make sure the seller gets what they want. So there's a lot of different options that are out there. Again, that's the creative thing. That's one of the things that we need to also dig more into on these is all of the different ways of creatively going through some financing to try to put deals together. Because I think the people who are willing and interested truly in capitalizing on this market will benefit from those conversations and discussions.
So do you do, and that's enough, people aren't, I'm trying to explain it here in the office because it's like we got to start promoting it. But do you do ARM loans?
We do ARM loans, yes. Yes, I do. Yep, we're starting to do those.
How are the interest rates on ARM loans compared to a fixed loan?
It could be a difference of about 1% to 2%, just depending on the person's credit. Could be a big difference there. Yeah, we do ARM loans. Yeah, right now. Yeah.
So people don't get that on an ARM loan, it's kind of a lower interest rate than it is on a fixed loan.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like that opportunity is there for people, people that are griping, but when their interest rates go back down, or they're going to go back down, I hear next year is going to be another, not another as low, but they're going to go back down.
Eventually they'll go back down. And then when they go back down, that's when you can refinance, right? And so, yeah.
Then it's like, the ARM loans, it's like people need to start doing ARM loans. If you want a lower interest rate, now granted, they require a little bit more money down, but you do an ARM loan. You know what I mean? Yeah. Get those loans that have that opportunity for those interest rates to be a little lower for you, and then they're 5 year, 7 year, whatever, 7 years from now until then, you can refinance.
Yeah, you can refi. Yep, you can always refi this there for sure. So cool. All right, man. Well, let's wrap this up. Let you get back to the grind. Hold on after we get done going live. I want to talk to you about if there's some opportunities we have to maybe help your duplex guy.
Okay.
Because as a commercial agent and also investor, we may have some duplexes that we may be able to put together for them and help them do that house hack. So hold on, we'll talk about that offline. And anyone has any questions, they can the numbers below. They can hit us up at 913-703-7000. Obviously, Carlos Ceballos Remax Beyond is your commercial brokerage and agent that's available to answer any questions, as well as myself. And drop some comments and share this video with some people you think that might benefit from it as well.
Yep.
All right, Carlos, let me go ahead and stop the recording. Let's talk here for a second. But guys, have a great Friday.
See you guys later.
Friday's back. We're back.